The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Thexani's translator finished rendering the human mythology presentation into 17 different alien languages. The silence lasted exactly 2.3 seconds before the chamber erupted in what could only be described as cosmic laughter. "Flying horses?" wheezed the crystalline Vorthan delegate, their form shimmering with amusement. "Beings that shoot lightning from their appendages? Creatures that breathe fire?" The translator struggled to convey the degree of mockery in their harmonic frequencies. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her jaw tight as she watched the assembled representatives of 47 star systems dissolve into what appeared to be their species' equivalent of hysterical laughter. The Zephyrian ambassador was actually changing colors in rapid succession, apparently their version of rolling on the floor. "Honored delegates," she began, but was immediately cut off by the booming voice of Commander Vexthor of the Catherian Empire. "Dr. Chen, with all due respect to your species' recent inclusion in our civilization," the 8-foot-tall reptilian said, his forked tongue flicking with apparent humor, "surely you cannot expect us to believe that these fantasies hold any scientific merit? We asked for examples of human innovation, not children's bedtime stories." The human delegation had been trying for months to convince the council that humanity deserved a seat at the table of advanced civilizations. Every proposal had been met with condescension. Their technology was primitive, their lifespan too short, their understanding of quantum mechanics laughably basic. This presentation of human mythology was Sarah's desperate attempt to show that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their current technology, but in their imagination. "The Catherian delegate raises a valid point," chimed in the ethereal Nixari representative, their gaseous form pulsing with what Sarah had learned was their species' expression of smugness. "These myths you present, Thor, Zeus, dragons, Phoenix, they violate fundamental laws of physics. Matter cannot be created from nothing. Biological entities cannot generate plasma at those temperatures. Flight without technological assistance is impossible for creatures of that mass." Sarah took a deep breath. She had expected this reaction, but it still stung. "Honored delegates, I'm not suggesting these beings actually existed. I'm demonstrating humanity's unique capacity to delude themselves," interrupted the Vorthan delegate. "To ignore scientific reality in favor of primitive superstition? This hardly seems like a qualification for advanced civilization status." The mockery continued for another 10 minutes. Sarah endured it all, waiting for her moment. Finally, when the laughter died down, she spoke again. "You're absolutely right," she said quietly. "These myths violate every known law of physics. They're impossible, ridiculous, completely illogical." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Which is exactly why they work." Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The massive view screen at the front of the chamber flickered to life, showing the external sensor feeds. Every delegate fell silent as they watched something impossible approaching the station. It was massive, easily the size of a small moon, and it moved through space without any visible propulsion. Its surface wasn't metal or crystal or any known material. Instead, it appeared to be made of something that shifted and writhed, something organic yet cosmic in scale. Tentacles the size of continents reached out from its bulk, and where they touched the void of space, reality seemed to ripple and bend. "By the 7 sons of Arcturus," whispered Commander Vexthor. "What is that thing?" Dr. Chen looked at the readings streaming across her tablet. "According to our sensors, it's something that shouldn't exist. It's generating its own gravity field without sufficient mass. It's moving faster than light without entering subspace. It's..." She paused, her face pale but oddly triumphant. "It's exactly like the Kraken from human mythology, the cosmic sea monster that devours worlds." The entity on the screen turned what might have been a head toward their station. Thousands of eyes opened across its surface, each one larger than their moon, and they all seemed to focus directly on the council chamber. "Impossible," gasped the Nexari delegate. "Our scientific models indicate such a creature cannot exist." "Yet here it is," Sarah said softly. "You see, delegates, there's something you don't understand about human myths. We didn't create them to explain the natural world. We created them to prepare for the unnatural one." The cosmic entity began to emit a sound that defied description. It wasn't heard so much as felt, a vibration that reached into the very atoms of their being. Several delegates began showing signs of neural feedback overload. Your civilizations developed by studying the universe as it is, Sarah continued, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. You cataloged every law, every constant, every predictable phenomenon. You built your technology, your society, your entire worldview on the assumption that reality follows rules. One of the Kraken's tentacles brushed against the station's outer hull. The contact should have been devastating, but instead, the hull simply changed. It became something else, something that existed in more dimensions than their sensors could measure. But humans, Sarah said, humans always suspected that the universe was far stranger than it appeared. So we told stories about impossible things. We imagined creatures that defied physics, heroes who broke the laws of nature, magic that made mockery of mathematics. We trained our minds to accept the impossible. The entity's massive eye fixed on the chamber's view screen. When it spoke, the words bypassed their translators entirely, appearing directly in each being's consciousness. Who among you knows the old songs? Every alien delegate stood frozen in terror, their scientific minds unable to process what they were experiencing. But Dr. Chen stepped forward. We do, she said aloud. We remember the stories of Leviathan and Jormungandr, of Cthulhu and the Starspawn. We know the old songs, the impossible tales, the myths that teach us how to face the unknowable. The cosmic entity's attention shifted entirely to her. Then you are the ones we have been seeking. The reality weavers are returning, and the universe will need those who understand that truth is larger than fact. As quickly as it had appeared, the entity began to fade, slipping back into whatever dimension it had emerged from. But before it vanished completely, it left behind a single gift, a small crystalline structure that materialized in the center of the chamber. The crystal pulsed with energy that made their most advanced sensors scream warnings about impossible readings. Yet Sarah approached it without fear. What is it? Whispered Commander Vexthor. Sarah smiled. It's a tool for navigating the spaces between realities, the places where physics becomes suggestion and imagination becomes law. She looked around the chamber at the stunned faces of the galactic representatives, the places where humans have always felt at home. The Nexari delegate's gaseous form fluctuated wildly. How did you know? How did you understand what that creature wanted? Because, Sarah said, carefully lifting the crystal, while you were learning to master reality, we were learning to master impossibility. Every myth, every legend, every impossible story we told was practice for this moment, the moment when the universe revealed that it's far stranger and more wonderful than any of us dared to believe. She turned to address the entire assembly. The question isn't whether humanity deserves a place among the stars. The question is whether you're ready to follow us into the places where stars are just the beginning. For the first time since humanity had joined the galactic community, the council chamber fell silent, not with mockery but with respect. And perhaps, just perhaps, with a touch of fear. After all, any species that could imagine the impossible might just be crazy enough to make it real.